spy balloon described by experts as the size of 3 school buses originally launched from mainland China entered U.S. airspace on January 28th north of the Aleutian Islands in Alaska before entering Canadian airspace and then re-entering U.S. airspace on January 31st in northern Idaho. The balloon continued across the continental United States for the next 4 days, crossing over a number of sensitive military nuclear weapons facilities like Mountain Home and Whiteman Air Force Base along the way. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs claimed the balloon was a, quote, civilian airship used for research, mainly meteorological purposes, end quote, and that it entered U.S. airspace due to a, quote, completely accidental situation, end quote. But the Pentagon said that both the balloon over the U.S. and a second balloon observed over Latin America had surveillance equipment atypical of standard meteorological activities or civilian research, and that they were part of a Chinese fleet of balloons developed to conduct surveillance operations, and that it traversed the U.S. and Canada on purpose to monitor sensitive military sites. According to DoD, these balloons have motors and propellers, which means they weren't just floating through the air like a lost party balloon, but their flight paths were deliberate and pre-planned. While officials declined to say what types of surveillance equipment were hanging underneath the balloon, describing them only as, quote, a broad array of capabilities, end quote, they did state that they took all the necessary steps to protect against the Chinese surveillance balloon collection of sensitive information. They further said that the surveillance balloon's overflight of U.S. territory was of American intelligence value, and that they were able to study and scrutinize the balloon and its equipment. Similar Chinese spy balloons flew over the U.S. at least 3 times during the Trump administration, and at least once previously during the Biden administration. But this latest balloon was over the continental United States a lot longer than the prior 4 balloon flights. Finally, on the afternoon of Saturday, February 4th, as the spy balloon transited towards the Atlantic Ocean high above the border between North and South Carolina, the U.S. military responded. The first indication that something was about to go down was the airports at Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, and Charleston were closed. Then U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptors launched out of Langley Air Force Base in Hampton, Virginia. In what was a classic historical touch, the Raptors used the call sign Frank, in a nod to Frank Luke Jr., the World War I fighter ace who shot down 14 German surveillance balloons, which earned him the nickname the Arizona Balloon Buster. Luke Air Force Base near Phoenix is named after him. The F-22's mission was to down the spy balloon off the coast, but within the 12-mile range of U.S. territorial waters. To accomplish the mission, the fighters were loaded with the AIM-9X Sidewinder air-to-air missile. The Sidewinder is commonly thought of as a heat-seeking missile, which might confuse some military aficionados because at a glance, the spy balloon lacked any real heat source. But the AIM-9X uses the IR spectrum, which is to say differences in light, not temperature, to hit the desired target. At 14:39 Eastern Standard Time, the Raptor was at 58,000 feet, 8,000 feet higher than I ever flew in the F-14, by the way. In these videos shot from the ground in coastal South Carolina, you can see the contrails of the Raptor and then the contrail of the Sidewinder at trigger squeeze. The missile trail disappears as the weapon guides and the rocket motor stops firing, and you can see the balloon's shape distort as the missile hits. At the time of the shot, the balloon was higher than the jet, flying between 60,000 and 65,000 feet. The missile hit at the base of the balloon, and the spy rig immediately fell away and continued to shed panels as it fell toward the water. Using the Raptor's gun would have been cheaper, of course, but would have induced risk because the range for a gun's kill is around 1,000 feet instead of over 2 miles for the AIM-9X, and the dispersion of the bullets would have damaged the spy gear more than a single missile did. Basically, the Air Force chose to use an arrow instead of a shotgun. For the record, the Chinese balloon is the first air-to-air kill for the F-22, a twin-engine stealth fighter originally built to battle Russian fighters. Once the Raptors were safely back on deck, the president made this statement.
On Wednesday, when I was briefed on the balloon, I ordered the Pentagon to shoot it down on Wednesday as soon as possible. They decided, without doing damage to anyone on the ground, they decided that the best time to do that was as it got over water outside within the 12-mile limit. They successfully took it down, and I want to compliment our aviators who did it, and we'll have more to report on this a little later. Thank you.
But military pundits and some lawmakers weren't happy that the administration let the balloon troll over sensitive military sites. Representative Michael McCall from Texas, who chairs the House Foreign Affairs Committee, tweeted, "The admin should have taken care of this before it became a national security threat. I hope we will be able to recover the wreckage to help determine what intelligence the CCP collected while its spy balloon was over our country for days. I will be demanding answers and will hold the administration accountable for this embarrassing display of weakness. In response to the shootdown, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs expressed its, quote, strong dissatisfaction and protest over the use of force, end quote, by the U.S. and added that the reaction by the U.S. was a, quote, obvious overreaction and serious violation of international customary practice, end quote. As a result of the spy balloon flyover, Secretary of State Antony Blinken canceled a trip to China where he was scheduled to sit down with President Xi. There's also rumors circulating that the U.S. might be considering recalling Ambassador Nicholas Burns back to D.C. from Beijing in protest. Meanwhile, off the coast, U.S. Navy operations to salvage the spy balloon wreckage are ongoing. More on this situation as the information becomes available, so if you're not already a subscriber, click the button and ring the bell so you don't miss anything going forward. And if you'd like to help support the channel, please consider using the super thanks, the heart icon below, or become a patron at patreon.com/WardCarroll. And in the meantime, I look forward to talking to you again very soon.